Welcome to the RiverWatch refresher video on mayflies. This video will help you identify mayflies for RiverWatch monitoring and to help you more accurately calculate stream quality indexes. RiverWatch is a program of the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center. For RiverWatch, we use 37 different macroinvertebrates to indicate stream quality. They all fall into 4 categories: worms, crustaceans, insects, and mollusks. For this video, we will be in the insect category, in the mayfly category, order Ephemeroptera. So within mayflies, there are several different kinds RiverWatch uses to calculate stream quality. The first thing you need to know is how to identify if it's a mayfly. That's where you need to start. So there's several characteristics that mayflies usually have. They usually have one pair of wing pads, so these are immature wings right here that will develop into the wings they use to fly when they become an adult. So just one pair. Stoneflies have 2 pairs, but mayflies have 1. Then mayflies usually have their gills along the side of their abdomen, so lateral abdominal gills, as you can see there. And then 3 tails. Just about every mayfly will have 3 tails. There are some exceptions, the 2-tailed mayfly, but you usually don't find those as much, and even so, they will still have the 1 pair of wing pads and the gills on the side of the abdomen. So that's how you know if you're dealing with a mayfly. The first mayfly indicator we use for RiverWatch is the Torpedo Mayfly. This is made up of families Oligonuridae and Isonectiidae. As you can see in the petri dish, without magnification, they have a very rounded head, kind of a streamlined body. Look a little bit closer, you almost see an arch in their back. Sometimes that helps you to pick out their body shapes in the petri dish. But the main characteristic we use to identify torpedo mayflies is the hair on their mouth parts and legs. It's best to look at this under higher magnification, probably 30 times on your microscope, with light shining up from below. That will help illuminate the hairs and make them easy to see. Next we have the swimming mayfly. This comprises several different families, as you can see here. Swimming mayflies are also very streamlined, have a rounded head. We look a little bit closer, 10 times magnification, this is what they look like. Not many features that really stand out. They look almost like the body shape of a torpedo mayfly, but if you look a little bit closer, they will not have hair on their legs and their mouth parts. So no mustache, no arm hair. That's the best way to identify it as a swimming mayfly. This is one of the most common ones we get for RiverWatch since there's so many families that make up this grouping. And also, in general, these guys are one of the smaller mayflies, so they're a little bit smaller than the torpedo mayflies. Next we have the clinging mayfly. This is also a very common one. This is the family Heptageneidae. As you can see, this is what they look like in the petri dish without magnification. A very broad and stout mayfly. Look a little bit closer, you can see that they're flattened. This helps them live in very fast current without getting knocked off their substrate. Best way to identify them is they have 2 big black eyes looking straight up at you, a broad flattened body, and of course the 1 pair of wing pads, gills on the abdomen, 3 tails, so you know it's a mayfly. So look for those large eyes looking straight up at you and a flattened body to know if it's a clinging mayfly. Next we have the crawling mayfly. This is comprised of families Canidae and Leptohyphidae, which used to be family Trachorhithidae. So 2 families in this grouping. This is what they look like in the petri dish. They're also, probably with swimming mayfly, there are other smallest mayfly grouping. I'll look a little bit closer and you notice what makes these guys stand out are these operculate gills. You can see them right here. These gill coverings that help protect, they cover their more delicate gills behind them, protect them from silt in the water causing abrasion and damage to them. So these gill covers, also called operculate gills, are what helps us identify crawling mayflies. Some of them, you'll see have their gills more towards the gill covers more towards the side. That's usually indicative of family Leptohypidae, and then some of them have more, the gills closer together like that, and that's usually more of family Canidae. But for RiverWatch, you just need to know if it's a crawling mayfly. Next we have the burrowing mayfly, made of four different families. Basically, this is what you're looking for. Are tusks on the front of the head. They use for digging, and they also have forked gills along the abdomen. So those help set it apart as a burrowing mayfly. Their gills are very large and very frilly, so that helps them create a current in the tunnel to bring water and food into it after they dig it. So, in a little bit closer view of the gills, you can see they're usually forked with fringed edges. So that is the burrowing mayfly. This is one of the most common mayflies. Although we don't get them quite as much in RiverWatch because they're usually a little bit deeper water. But a lot of the huge mayfly swarms you hear about, burrowing mayflies are probably the biggest cause of that. Next we have the armored mayfly. This is what they look like in the petri dish. Almost don't even look like a mayfly at first glance. They're so stout and wide. But if you look closer, you can see that it is their thorax has part of their thorax actually extends over the rest of their body. They usually have the points on the side of the thorax that helps you identify them. They do have 3 tails. A lot of times they're bunched together though, so they're kind of hard to see, but just look closely. And they do have wing pads. They're underneath their shell, and their gills are along the side of their abdomen. We do not get a lot of these in RiverWatch. They are spread throughout Illinois, but we don't usually catch a lot of these. Lastly, we have the other mayfly. This is families Ephemeralidae and Leptophlebidae. So, spiny crawler mayfly and the prong-gilled mayfly. So if you look, the best way to get to this, to know about if it is another mayfly or not, is to use the dichotomous key in the appendix of your RiverWatch manual. So you go characteristic by characteristic to get there. To get to these guys, you have to get, say, mouth parts are not visible from above. Then you go to the right on that key, and then you go down to where it says the gills having normal plate-like gills on the second abdominal segment, or having no gills on the second abdominal segment, or forked gills. And both of these mayflies have forked gills or no gills on the second abdominal segment. So the spiny crawler, his gills don't start till back here. So the second abdominal segment, no gills. And then the pronged gilled mayfly does not have the plate-like gills on the second abdominal segment. He, in fact, has forked gills. Now, as you might remember from earlier, the burrowing mayfly has forked gills also. But if you're using that dichotomous key, the burrowing mayfly's mouth parts are visible from above. So you can actually, that's where you split off to go towards burrowing. Prong-gilled mayfly's mouth parts are not visible from above, so you would keep going towards the right on the page, and then you would go on the branch where it says gills on second abdominal segment absent or forked. So that's how you can identify an other mayfly. Now you have a chance to test your knowledge to see if you're able to identify all the RiverWatch mayfly groups. This is probably the hardest group to identify for RiverWatch, so probably it's best to spend the most time learning these. But you can go ahead and give it a try. You can pause this video and get out some paper or just do it in your head. But go ahead and pause it because I'll be turning to the next slide with the answers in just a moment. Alright, here are the answers. A was the other mayflies, the prong-gilled mayfly. It's hard to see when they're kind of small in this picture, but it has the pronged bushy gills on the side here. This is the armored mayfly. It has the very stout shell covering him. C was the burrowing mayfly. It has the very obvious tusks, the mouth parts visible from above, and the forked gills on the side. D was the crawling mayfly. You can see his gill covers, or the operculate gills, right here, helping protect the rest of his more delicate gills. E was the clinging mayfly. Some people call them flathead mayflies because they're so flat and broad. They also have very large eyes looking up at you. A little bit harder to see in this picture. F was the swimming mayfly, kind of a more featureless mayfly, streamlined, rounded head. One of the smaller mayflies. So you kind of keep body size in mind when you're identifying mayflies. Crawling mayflies and swimming mayflies are usually the smallest. And then lastly, we have the torpedo mayfly. So these ones look a lot like swimming mayflies. They're just a little bit larger, but remember they have the hair on their mouth parts and legs. So those are the mayflies RiverWatch uses. I hope this helps you on next time you're doing a RiverWatch sample. Thank you for watching.